Hey guys, welcome back. In this video, we are going to be talking about frequency and introduce you guys to equalizers. Throughout this section, we're going to be going over some plugins and some pretty cool effects that you guys can learn and grasp. And these are just going to be some really basic effects that are used all throughout Reaper and all throughout our sound design courses. It's only like 3 or 4 main plugins, and if you remember, we had there's so many to go between. I mean, look at all these. We're only going to be using about 3 or 4 of these as our primary plugins, but we'll be going over some really cool plugins in the future as well. So anyways, let's go ahead and listen to our 3 sound effects we have here. We have the Blip Free Synth 01, we have the Blip Free Bone Break 03, and we have the Blip Free Deep Impact 02. Very cool. So when I talk about frequency, the best way to describe it is the highness and the lowness of a certain sound effect. Basically just the frequency. So, or the pitch is another way to describe it. So if I were to listen to this synth sound, I would say it's somewhere in the mid-range between 0 and 20 kHz on a frequency spectrum. And when I say frequency spectrum, I mean the range that humans can hear. And if we go to the bone break, that's going to be somewhere in the higher frequencies, and the deep impact will be in the lower frequencies. So why don't we go ahead and go to our effects and type in EQ. And let's go to this re-EQ here. And now, if we play our sound effects, our equalizer will be able to show us what frequencies are actually playing. Let's go ahead and play the Blip Free Synth. Like we said, it's a little bit of mid frequencies, but it's a little bit on the lower side. And then we have our Blip Free Bone Break sound. You can see that the waveform showed a little bit in the higher frequencies. And then you can see way low frequencies, really loud low frequencies here, and the lower part of our equalizer. So this covers our frequency spectrums pretty nicely. And the frequency spectrum that humans can hear at is between 20 and 20 kHz. And we are actually able to manipulate our frequencies by changing the volume of the frequencies in an equalizer. For example, let's look at this Blip Free Synth 01. So we saw the yellow waveform very loud around here. Yeah, it's definitely the loudest around here, this area. So we can actually do a few things, and it was the not the loudest over here. So let's go ahead and take this high shelf here and boost this. Can't really hear much of a difference, so let's go ahead and try just bringing it over a little. Yeah, so you can barely hear that the higher frequencies are enhanced now. But let's go ahead and boost the frequencies that are already highest. So now you can hear that it sounds a little bit more muffled now. And let's go ahead and listen to this bone break with these changes. Disable the plugin to see what it sounds like. Let's go ahead and try raising the higher frequencies. So now you can hear the higher sounds coming through. So all that we're doing is we're not changing the pitch of the sound at all. We're actually changing the volume of the frequencies. So let's go ahead and listen to our Blip Free Deep Impact. Let's lower the volume of this guy here. So you can hear there. You can hear the higher frequencies coming through more. Pretty cool. And what we can actually do, instead of boosting the frequencies, we can also lower the frequencies. So it's very loud over here, but what we can do is we can take this low shelf filter and go ahead and hit play. And now you don't hear those lower frequencies as much. We can drag this over even more. As you can see, this little band here is a representation of how our volume is being reduced. You'll see over here it says like +6 decibels, and this is -6. So right around here this is being reduced by -6 decibels. Right around here it's being reduced by -3. This is like the 1 to 3 range. And then around here it's probably being reduced by like -9 or 10. So that's just a good reference point if you want to know exactly how much your frequencies are being lowered or raised by looking at this side reference here. So that's a pretty useful thing for our frequency content whenever we're working with sound design. And I recommend that you guys take a look at equalizers yourself and really get to know them and try and just accustom your ears to how an equalizer will change the sound effect. There's a very good chance that when you're listening to these sound effects that I'm playing right now, you're not really hearing the changes that are being made to the sound effects. it's very common for people who have never edited audio before to not be able to hear these kind of changes yet. So just remember to keep on trying to use equalizers and follow along with the instructions of the course, and don't feel too hard pressed by like boosting an equalizer all the way up here just so you can hear the sound of it. You just have to adjust your ears to it, and you will get to that point where you are editing audio and making little tiny micro changes. Like when I edit audio, sometimes I'll be just doing tiny little minute changes all over the place, and I'll be able to hear a difference between all of this stuff that I'm doing here, where people who are just new to audio aren't really hearing too much. So just don't sweat it too much and just have fun with it. That's the best thing I can say. There's one more thing I want to show off with equalizers before we wrap this up. You have an option to change the band type here, and you can actually change the frequency individually here, or you can change the gain. So like right here it's at -6.7, or you can boost it up. And then you can change the bandwidth actually. So if you look at how this curves right here, I can change the size of the curve. I'm making it a lot bigger now, and now I'm making it a lot smaller. But you'll see that it peaks at -7.5. It never actually changes. So this is very useful. Sometimes you'll have like a very high pitch frequency in a certain range, and you'll just want to use a very thin EQ bandwidth and just lower that. Then you also have the option to add and remove bands. So we currently have 1, 2, 3, 4 bands, as you can see here, and we can change between them on these tabs. But we can add bands here, and now we have a whole bunch of options to be able to edit our audio even further. And we can, depending on our setup, we'll be going into how we use equalizers a little bit further throughout this course, but I just wanted to show you off some of the cool things that we can do here. But anyways, thanks for watching guys, and I'll see you guys in the next video.